Alright, so we think that it's at a point...
It's not done curing, but
no,
it's not really going to move much right now.
Yep.
So we're going to try to get the next phase of the glue in place here.
Which is the vertical pieces.
And in order to clamp these, we need a little bit of space for clamps. And then we'll put our weight back on top of our spacers using a thinner table over the top of them. And we'll set the weight back on top of that.
Okay.
But first things first, we need to figure out where all our glue is going and
where all of our clamps are, and we believe we have figured out our plan of attack for this portion.
Always figure out your clamping beforehand.
Yep. That way you know how many clamps you have and that you have the right ones.
So now we have to drop these into place. Okay, we're going to start with the centers.
Yeah.
Use our gentle clamps here just to get everything in place for the first stop. Okay, that locks the middle. Okay, there's that one. Now when we put these next ones in, we got to make sure it's all the way down. And the clamp will pull it all the way back. But I need to make sure that my clamp is angled a little bit out so that we have enough room to put our weights back in. Okay, that looks good.
And a couple things we had to consider was how heavy the clamps were so that it didn't actually bend the tin back. So that's just something to think about if you're doing your own box too.
Okay, it's pulling together nicely. Check and make sure everything's down against the bottom of the box. Keep all of our heights right. Now we can put these back in place. And our skinny table. And hopefully there's enough room in here between the clamps.
Bam.
For our linseed oil. Alright, so that's the main glue up. Hey guys!
Hello!
Welcome back to the next episode of our series on Project
Omar.
And this is Project Omar.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's the most beautiful Omar I know. So this week what we're going to be working on first here is getting these tuners into the headstock here. And that requires drilling, well, marking where they go, drilling the pilot hole through. And we are going to be doing it Tymkrs style, which involves
a peg hole reamer.
Using the peg hole reamer, which is a violin tool for making holes for pegs. It's tapered. This is really useful for being able to work with wood in a very manual way, a very hand tool way, to get it up to the perfect size so that these fit in very tight. These are sort of Chinese made tuners and they sort of fit in between drill sizes, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why. You could just drill that through with drill bits, but we like to do it this way. It's nice and controlled. And
we also, so these parts obviously go to the tuners here, but we had to trim the bushings a little bit.
Yeah, guitar headstocks are usually a lot thicker than this, so the bushings that they provide are usually a lot longer. We don't need them that long. In fact, they would be in the way. So, like Addie said, we trim them down.
Yep. A couple ways you can do them. You can use the bandsaw. You could use Sawmax if if you're able to control things, and then hacksaw, and we ended up using the metal grinder, I think.
Yeah, I just threw them on the grinding wheel.
Yep. So, okay.
Okay, time to lay this out.
Yes. So we've got the holes for the tuners done and taken care of with the peg hole reamer. And now we're currently working on the nut. And a new technique that Whisker and Tim, one of our fellow Hackerspace members, came up with was to use pins or copper nails and I guess embed them in either side. So half of it would go into...
Drill a little hole in the wood here.
Yep.
Drill a little hole in the center of this.
Yep.
And that gives it a little pin to sit on, and that way it can never slide side to side once it's in place.
So just one pin?
Yep.
Ah, okay. So...
I have to drill the pilot hole for that.
Tiny.
Alright, so I'm going to use the tip of the hemostats here to drop this little nail into place. I let it loose on there. Now we got a little tiny pokey bit.
Very cool.
I need to set up the tailpiece to have a matching indentation.
Okay.
Right here in the center. So we're going to have to drill a little hole there.
Okay.
So there's a little tiny hole.
Tiny hole. So Whisker's currently figuring out how much space needs to be between each string. This is going to be another 3-string guitar like all of our other ones. And I think we looked at a previous cigar box guitar that we've done, and it was 3/8 of an inch.
And then from the center, 1, 2, 3/8. 1, 2, 3/8.
What are you going to use to score the aluminum?
I'm going to take it over to the vise and use the needle files. Now for aluminum or wood, I like to use the triangle needle file for cutting these little grooves for the strings. Allows you to make a nice V-shaped cavity right down into it with very little hassle.
And you don't need that deep of a groove, right?
Now we will be changing the depth to adjust the height of the string. So right now I just want to mark exactly where they are in a permanent way. And then we'll be setting the height of the strings with this later. This one will obviously need to go a little bit deeper because these are down towards the curved over bits. We'll get them in there nice and solid so the strings don't pop side to side. Get them even across the bottom so that they're on the same plane there. We can make fine adjustments later.
Now that we have the nut in and the holes and the tuners all set up here, it's time to stick them in.
These are a very tight fit. Because we have to trim down the bushings so much, we don't get as much secure of a, you know, we're losing a lot of threads there. So
yeah.
Instead we make the holes very tight. So what I need to do here is pressure fit these down.
And can I ask, how do you choose how many are on either side?
Well, we've got 2 different sets out of each set of 6.
Yeah.
So on a set of 6, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
We make 3-string guitars.
Yeah.
So when we make one guitar,
so
we use these 2 in this one, and then when we make the next guitar, we'll use these 2 in this one.
I see. So it's not like some technicality that dictates whether or not you use one
you
side or
could,
the other.
if you were doing a separate headstock and gluing it to your neck, you could have it where these sit at an angle and all 3 of them are on one side. I've seen people do that.
Oh yeah, yep. That's true.
We like our one-piece neck though.
Yep. Do we usually put the pilot holes for the anchor screws in while the tuners are on it as well?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Makes it very easy. So I'm just going to use my square here to sort of get a good visual on whether or not I've got the tuners in nice and square before drilling where those anchor screw points are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Visually I'll take a look at it and then we'll work on getting those pilot holes drilled. Okay, now that we've got the pilot holes drilled, we've got our screws started, and I'm just going to fasten these down.
Okay.
Okay, so now that we've got those in place, it's time to throw in the washers. Shiny side up. One side is shiny, one side is flat. And then our adjusted bushings. Okay, so we've got our tuners all in place, and our bridge, or a nut rather, is fabricated.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like Eddie's going to get busy polishing this up for us.